Welcome to the Virginia Tech Intramural Sports Wallyball Preseason presentation. We are excited that you are a part of our Intramural Sports program, and we look forward to working with you and your team this year. In the presentation following, we will review general intramural sports policies, procedures, important sports rules, captain's responsibilities, sportsmanship, and more. As captains, it is your responsibility to share all of the information presented in this video with your teammates. Feel free to send them the link to this presentation to view it on their own time. We would like to thank Fox Ridge Apartment Homes for sponsoring this year's captain's presentations and for the coveted Intramural Sports Championship t-shirts that all team and individual sports winners receive. As a team captain for your intramural sports team, it is important that you understand your role on your team and within the intramural sports program. You are responsible for recruitment and organization of your team. Make sure all team members are eligible, are notified of the sports rules, intramural sports policies and procedures, and communication and information coming from the intramural sports office, and when and where your team is scheduled to play. All information can be found on the intramural sports website and within the Fusion IM portal. Having all teammates' cell phone numbers and emails will help you to be able to communicate with them in a timely fashion and provide updates for everyone. As a team captain, you are responsible for being familiar with all intramural sports game rules, policies, and procedures, as well as representing your team when discussing rule interpretations and player eligibility with the intramural sports staff. More information regarding captain's responsibilities can be found in the Intramural Sports Policy Manual located on the Intramural Sports website. All volleyball games are played in War Memorial Hall on the racquetball courts on the lower level in War Memorial. Games are played with 4 players, but a minimum of 3 players is needed to start the game for men's, women's, and co-rec. Each team has a 10-minute grace period to get enough players to play the game. All players must have an intramural full membership and be added to the team roster prior to starting the game. All players must also be checked in with the intramural sports staff and show their hockey passport. It is important for all team members to show up at least 15 minutes early to start the game on time. Intramural sports has a 10-minute grace period. If one team is present at the start of the game and the opponent does not have the minimum number of players to play, the team present will have the option to start the game ahead by the score of the mercy rule for that sport. However, the team may also elect to have the game started with a 0-0 score if the opponent shows up prior to the end of the grace period. After the grace period ends, teams without the required number will forfeit the game. A double forfeit is called if neither team has enough players present and checked in to start the game at the end of the grace period. Teams that forfeit will be removed from the league and may be replaced with a team from the waiting list if the team does not pay the reinstatement fee of $20 on Fusion IM within 2 days after the forfeit occurs. Please always show up for your games unless you are contacted by the Intramural Sports Office. If your team knows that you will not have enough players to play the game in advance, you can log into the Fusion IM portal, click on the game in your schedule that you wish to forfeit, and click on that forfeit button. This will notify our Intramural Sports Office and your opponent that the game will not be played. We greatly appreciate you using this feature as early as possible to notify us of any forfeits on your team. As always, you can add players to your roster throughout the season. This next section deals with intramural sports rosters. Players may be added to the roster online on Fusion IM before or when they check in for a game. There is no game limit to set your team roster, so players can be added the entire season, including during playoffs. Many times there are free agents available to play, and captains can find them on Fusion IM and invite those players to join their team at any time throughout the season. The intramural sports full membership must be purchased prior to registering a player to the roster. Players may only play on one men's or women's team and one co-rec team. Players are locked on the team roster 3 weeks after the season begins, and players may not be removed to be added to another team after that 3rd week of games. Intramural sports volleyball leagues do have some roster restrictions. There is a maximum of 2 varsity players allowed per team for non-volleyball athletes. There's a maximum of 2 club volleyball players allowed per team roster, but an unlimited amount of club players from any other sport. Professional athletes are ineligible to participate in intramural sports volleyball. If you suspect that a player is ineligible, you may file a protest with the Intramural Sports Office. Player eligibility and rule misapplications are the only valid protests allowed for intramural sports. An eligibility protest may be made at any time before, during, or after a game, as well as any time during the sports season. A rule protest must be made prior to the restart of a play, otherwise the request will be denied. The rule protest must be made immediately at the time of the official's call. Captains may file a formal protest in the Intramural Sports Office with the protest form in 135 War Memorial Hall by noon the next day after the game is played with a $10 protest fee. If the protest was found to be correct, the fee will be refunded. If the protest is found to be incorrect, the fee is lost. All league schedules, team rosters, game results, and league information is posted on the Intramural Fusion portal. Log in to see your team and league information. We may contact teams to fill in spots if teams are dropped from the league, so please check your email regularly and respond to our messages when we ask you to. These games are extra games on top of what your team is originally scheduled for, so please still show up for your regularly scheduled games. Sportsmanship is extremely important for the Virginia Tech Intramural Sports Program. It is the mission of the Intramural Sports Program under the Department of Recreational Sports at Virginia Tech to provide a wide range of individual and team activities at both a competitive and recreational level to students, faculty, staff, and other members of the university community. Our purpose is to provide exercise, recreation, and fun to our participants in a relaxed yet structured environment. Intramural sports are a crucial element of the student life experience because they promote and reinforce teamwork and personal accomplishment, mutual respect and integrity, competition and recreation, as well as skill and exercise. Everyone is encouraged to play to the best of their abilities. However, a win-at-all-cost attitude is inappropriate and strongly discouraged. The genuine value of intramural sports comes from the opportunity to participate, not from winning. Sportsmanship involves respect for all participants, officials, scorekeepers, intramural sports supervisors, and fans. To encourage sportsmanship for all intramural sports activities, a team sportsmanship rating system has been developed to encourage proper sporting behavior during all intramural contests. The rating is based on a 5-point scale, and all teams must meet the minimum average sportsmanship rating of a 3.0 to be eligible for the playoffs. Now let's talk about some sport-specific rules for volleyball. All volleyball matches are played between teams of 4, with the minimum number of players to start a game being 3. A contest consists of the best 2 out of 3 games with rally scoring. All games will be played to 25 points, win by 2, up to a 27-point cap. To begin a game, a coin toss will determine which team gets to choose to serve, receive, or pick a particular side of the court. A new coin toss is performed before the third game if necessary. Teams will switch sides of the court after each game. Each team is allowed 1 timeout per game, and they do not carry over from one game to another game. Substitutions may only be made during dead ball situations. Each team is responsible for calling out the score prior to each serve. At the conclusion of each game, the score should then be recorded on the scorecard. All game rule infractions will be self-officiated by each team. If there is a discrepancy in the rules application, then the captains may ask the sports supervisor on duty for assistance. The court boundaries are as follows. The ball is out of bounds whenever it hits the ceiling and goes over the net, hits the back wall on a serve or attack, or hits 2 more walls on a serve or volley. The service area is anywhere along the back wall and within 3 feet from the back wall. Should the ball pass through the opening between the net and the wall on either the first or the second hit, it will be considered a replay. If this occurs during a team's third hit, it will be considered a point in favor of the team that did not play the ball. The ball will be considered dead if it hits the floor, hits 2 or more walls on the receiving side, hits the ceiling and lands on the opponent's court, hits the back wall on the receiving side, the supervisor sounds their whistle, or a player commits a fault. A team will lose the rally if the ball hits the floor on their side of the court, if the ball travels over the net and hits the back wall or the ceiling, or if the ball hits the net as it is being served. Also, if the ball crosses the net after contacting two or more walls without making contact with a player, a side out or loss of serve will be called. Ceilings are considered in play if the ball stays on the side of the court belonging to the team that hit the ball, provided that it was not the team's third hit. When playing the ball, up to 3 consecutive hits are allowed for each team to play the ball over the net and into the opponent's side of the court. Any player may hit or block the ball, and any player that makes contact with the ball outside of a block shall be considered as having played the ball. The ball may be hit with any part of the body as long as it rebounds cleanly after contact with the player. However, using a kicking motion to play the ball is illegal. Climbing the wall to play the ball is also illegal. Players may only have successive contacts with the ball during a block or after any first contact off of a serve or a hard-driven ball. No player may contact the net at any time with any part of their uniform or body, with the only exception being their hair. The result of such an action would be a point awarded to the other team. A player may touch the floor across the center line with one or both feet or hands, provided a part of the foot or the hands remains on or above the center line. Contacting the floor across the center line when any other part of the body is considered illegal. In co-rec volleyball rules, all substitutions made must be male for male and female for female. In co-rec, there must be a difference of 1 in the gender numbers in order to start the game. So you must have at least 1 male and 1 female to start, along with any other number of males or females in at least a 2-to-1 gender ratio. Once the ball is in play, if the ball is hit more than once by a team, both genders must make contact with the ball before it crosses the net. If a team has 3 players, they will lose the ball and point anytime the male or female service order is violated. All games are played in War Memorial Hall. Practice equipment is available for checkout from scorekeepers at the scores table. Game balls are available, but teams may use their own ball if it is approved by both teams. All jewelry must be removed prior to play, with the exception of medical, alert, or religious jewelry items that must be secured with tape. If any jewelry is to be worn, it must be pre-approved by the Intramural Sports professional staff in person in the office to obtain written approval to play with it on. It then must be secured by tape, as well as observed by the Intramural Sports supervisor on staff. All intramural sports teams must have both a white and a dark colored jersey with unique 1 or 2 digit whole numbers for each team member. Both jerseys must be brought to all games. Taping numbers on shirts is not allowed. Players may easily use a black or a white Sharpie marker on a t-shirt to write their numbers down. Intramural Sports does not provide these jerseys or shirts, so please make sure that you bring both your white and dark colored jerseys with you for every game. All dark colored jerseys must be the same similar shade of color across the entire team. Opposing teams must wear different colors. Captains will determine who will wear the alternate color, and if teams cannot reach an agreement, then it may result in a team forfeit. There are times when the weather is not our friend and decisions on game status will need to be made by the intramural sports staff. We will make a decision by 4:00 p.m. daily for the first scheduled game of the day. After 4 o'clock, the game status will be determined by the staff on site, and games will be scheduled according to the current and forecasted weather. Game status updates can be found on our Twitter account, Facebook page, website, as well as the Virginia Tech Weather Hotline. Here are some of the important dates that you'll need to mark your calendar for intramural sports volleyball leagues. The first day of the regular season begins Monday, February 5th. The last day of the regular season is Thursday, February 22nd. The playoff brackets will be posted by Saturday, February 24th. The first day of playoffs will be that Monday, February 26th, and the championship night will be Thursday, March 22nd. If you have any further questions, please see the Intramural Sports website for more information on sports rules, intramural sports policies and procedures. Visit the Fusion IM portal for all team, roster, game schedule, and result information, or contact our office if you still have questions. Good luck, have a wonderful season, and thank you for helping to make our Virginia Tech Intramural Sports program one of the finest in the country. Thank you to our sponsors of Virginia Tech Intramurals. Domino's Pizza for our championship nights, Fox Ridge Apartment Homes for sponsoring our championship t-shirts, and for PK's Bar and Grill for sponsoring USOA.